Hey guys, I'm looking at Sonic 3 and Knuckles today, a classic game from my childhood. For those of you, honestly, who just never grew up with this experience, what the N Knuckles thing was is that there was a separate component that went into the Genesis cartridge. It literally went on top of the existing game cartridge, and basically by that, you basically had this kind of expansion DLC that was actually physical. And so by that method, basically you were able to get the base game Sonic 3, but then you could also play as Knuckles. And you had a wholly different campaign, and you could also combine the different aspects of each game into each other. And so it's really funny because it's basically the first example of a physical DLC, which I find absolutely hilarious. So how does Sonic 3 compare to, Sonic 2? Well, there's way more levels. They obviously use a lot more 3D technology, especially with this, Chaos Emerald minigame, which as a child gave me the ultimate anxiety, and I had no idea what I was to do or had to do. It would just, throw you into this giant maze with all these balls, and they would bump you around. And I remember as a kid, I would just have no idea what to do, and I'd immediately lose because you're always going forward and you can't stop. And if the thing bumps you, suddenly you're walking backwards, and if you hit one red ball, it's over. It was the most stress-inducing mini game I've probably ever played in a game ever, and to this day I think it would still be the same. It's just absolutely ridiculous. So in this version you can play as Sonic, Tails, Sonic and Tails, or Knuckles with the expansion. And so the basic premise is, Sonic and Tails, they're in their little airplane, and Dr. Eggman basically, he steals the Chaos Emeralds. Well, you get to Angel Island, and Knuckles basically is there, and you basically run into him, and he punches you and steals your emeralds. And this is the way that the game kind of starts. And then you find out that he's working for Eggman, and of course Eggman tricks him, and the story is not super important. That's pretty much all of it right there. It is interesting though to look at later stages where in Angel Island there are little murals of Sonic and Eggman, and as if all of this has been prophesized by some ancient race. And this is when we're really introduced to the idea that Knuckles is part of this ancient civilization of echidnas, which are sent to guard the Master Emerald. And that becomes kind of like where the beginning of that, where that idea started. You also see a lot more sort of 3D-ish technologies vis-a-vis not only this minigame, but some of the rocks that get destroyed. They kind of have an almost 3D-ish effect to them. And this, this is the flagship title of the Sega Genesis. And what I always hated about this minigame, specifically the one where you have to get the blue balls, is that as you went through the level, your speed would just automatically increase, and there's no way to turn it down. It's like driving a car down a freeway that's constantly just increasing in speed as you're getting the objectives, and it feels absolutely anxiety-inducing. There's absolutely no way a child could actually accomplish this. I definitely could never beat these stages as a kid. And of course, once you unlock all the Chaos Emeralds, then you can access the real, true ending. And again, I think another very strong part of the old Sonic games is the sound design. The sound design for the life up, the continue, everything about it is just really well done. Also, what we'll see here in this Sonic is that there's a lot more shields, so you can have a water shield or bubble shield, which allows you to breathe underwater and bounce up and down. You have an electric shield that is super useful, that attracts all the rings to you. And you have the fire shield, which is fun because it makes you immune to fire attacks and also lets you propel yourself like a fireball forward, which was a lot of fun. And, you know, there's a lot of just environmental storytelling, you know, especially in this first level. You kind of see Eggman's robots are burning down the jungle, capturing animals and putting them into robots. And when you destroy the robots, the animals come out. It's very kind of... it's very simple storytelling that doesn't need to explain anything to you, and you kind of can get it immediately without needing a huge backstory or whatnot. Again, I feel like this classic Sonic, it's really good at, you know, slowing down the player for certain platforming or other kinds of, you know, puzzles, as well as making sure that, you know, there's opportunities for the player to go super fast and have fun with it. And it's that duality of, you know, slowing down and doing the puzzles, and then also being able to participate in, you know, your reward is, you know, going super fast and action-packed, you know, areas. There's also a lot more environmental stuff going on here. You can see that, you know, there's also just a lot more, I feel, enemies on screen. Again, the OST, the presentation of these games is just amazing. You know, Eggman is back in like a bunch of very different, you know, machines, and each one of them have a very distinct and, you know, distinct design. And then, yeah, you have these little moments between the characters where they interact, and that kind of, you know, gives you an idea of what these characters are like, and what eventually they honestly would become more so. There's a lot more graphical prowess being, you know, being spread on the screen. There's just in general a lot more impressive graphical designs of, you know, of the look of when rocks get destroyed, or you get crashed through a building, or when you have to, you know, destroy those little levers. There's also little hands that grab you and push you and power you up. You know, when you ride a water spurt and it goes through, you know, the stone wall. There's a lot more effects and, you know, going on here than, you know, looking at this side by side between Sonic 2. This game is actually a lot more impressive. Maybe I didn't realize it as a kid, but there's a lot more going on here just graphically, which is really cool. All the animations are, you know, very unique, and, you know, my favorite thing is probably when you stop and Sonic will tap his foot and, you know, signify that, you know, you're wasting his time. Another thing that I love about this game is even when you do beat it, it actually has, you know, rewards. Which I think is pretty rare for, like, you know, once you clear a game, it's like, okay, you're done, you're going to move on. It's not a huge spoiler, but when you do beat, you know, this game, and you kind of go back to the beginning, once you get 50 rings, you're able to do, basically, you're able to go supersonic in any of the previous levels, which is really, I think, cool that they added that in. Again, I know I can look at these old Sonic levels where you're doing the blue ball stage, and it's just I'm just getting anxiety watching it because I can hear the music etched into my mind. And again, the music in the old Sonic games is such an important aspect. And going forward, it's interesting that the music will also continue to be super important to the series. And just in different ways. But it's always something I've always appreciated about Sonic, even when there have been games that aren't that good and don't have, you know, there was the, you know, era where Sonic games just were very bad and not very well made. At least the music was always good. And so, you know, am I a Sammy Classic Sonic fans where I prefer the classic games over the 3D ones? Not really, no. I actually kind of prefer the 3D ones in terms of, I think they bring a lot in terms of story and other aspects, and they're a lot more memorable to me. But even though I played these games earlier in my childhood, I feel like they do have a better gameplay cycle or loop, if you will. One big issue I think with this game that everyone can relate to is the friggin' level in Casinoopolis, where you have this red and white rotating drum that basically you need to navigate around, and basically can only go up and down, and if you jump on it, it does go up and down. And I thought, okay, I just need to jump on it till it goes low enough that I can get into that, passage it's telegraphing to me that I have to go to. However, for many years as a child, I would have no idea what to do, because as I was jumping on it, it never went low enough, and it was always super confusing. And it's only as an adult, or when I learned, I saw it somewhere like online or something, because I definitely did not figure it out on my own, that you actually had to look up and down to manipulate the height of this drum thing. And I would have never figured that out on my own. And like, I had multiple people look at the game, test it. I didn't ask my cousins, I'd ask everyone, and no one knew what to do. No one knew what to do. So that might be bad game design, but I always think it's so funny that is one of my lasting memories, with this game. The fact that the friggin' section where it expects you to use a mechanic you've never ever used before by looking up and down to actually do something exists. And but besides that was the one weird part of this entire game. Everything else is very well made and very well constructed for speed. I think for myself personally, what I really take away from these old Sonic games is the aspect that I really try to upgrade in games, if it ever is an option, is speed. I love going fast. I am a Sonic boy. I'm not gonna lie or try to hide it or anything. Like that is who I am, part of my identity. If I can find a way to go fast, I absolutely will. If it's in an RPG or anything, when you increase the game speed, it's just who I am. And it's funny that there wasn't really a genre for this kind of game, a genre where it's like, hey, yeah, you can completely ignore 90% of the enemies on screen and just rush to the end boss. And I think that genre of game really hasn't found a resurgence, really. A lot of games are now padded out. They're supposed to be, 80-hour quests where you spend all your time and money on this one game, so much so that you can't play any other game, and it becomes like a second job almost, is what people refer to. But this game is short, fast. It's supposed to be played in one day, and it's supposed to just be fun. And the F word that we don't hear in games anymore. But yeah, this game definitely had a lot of impact on me as a child. I feel just from the ability to go fast, to have fun, to the sprite animations, everything about it is just, I don't know, really nice. And I hope other people or other kids get to experience it, because I think it really is a wonderful game and game series. I think the one thing I should have mentioned earlier in my Sonic 2 review is that I think there was something about the Snowcap Zone and how Michael Jackson actually did the beat for that. So yeah, no, for some reason the Sonic franchise has always had a huge impact or influence or interest in having really good music for its presentation. And I think that's something we definitely see going forward in even modern Sonic games. Even if they do end up sucking, they end up still getting popular because of their music. And that's so interesting that that's a tradition that we've established even this early on. Anyway, guys, there's not much else I can say about this game. I know this there's the Sonic movie series, which is also very popular, and I think it's wonderful that these games are still getting, life and inspiration from them culturally. And so with that being said, I will see you guys later. Bye.